I contemplated getting my hair really tightly permed. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the After Show, but later it's your boy D, and I'm joined again today by, you may know him from this week on the show. They actually mentioned one of his posts. You might know him as I'm That Soupy across all social media. And we have John Soupy Arthur on Facebook, right? I think it's Facebook.
Yeah, that's what it is on Facebook.
So welcome. This is cool because I was talking to you before we started recording how we've met, on the last call we did, which was actually just like over the phone. And it's cool to actually kind of meet you in person for the first time. So I'm freaking stoked, man.
Yeah, it's cool too. Like I love coming on your show. I especially love how easy it is to come on your show. I just hit you up like, yo, Fitz, want to come on the show? And you're like, yep, cool, come on. I have been trying to get on Cavino and Rich as a guest for a while, but Daniel Hastings has not emailed me back, and he's being.
Oh, you mean Nick Hastings? Is Daniel his brother?
Right. Maybe that's why I got it wrong, because I got the name wrong. But yeah, Nick Hastings has not emailed me back. I have tried relentlessly, and he does not get in contact with me. That's I don't. I know there's some good stories about him personally right here. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that when Jonathan and I went on Cavino and Rich, a couple of times, we Nick got back to us right away. So that could be the problem. I
guess I'm just not at your level yet. I mean, you got this whole studio right there. I'm in my freaking kitchen. My cats are running around somewhere. I think I gotta up.
You know what?
I my game.
I did hear that Nick Hastings is allergic to cats. So he might have seen a couple. He might have seen a couple episodes of Yelling from the Bench, and he saw cats in the background. He's like, I can't do it.
I do my best because as you can see, this is the same place where I do record it. You can see there's one cat right there. He's just chilling. I do like when I'm like doing a take. I'm looking, and then I'll see one of them run by, and I'll just go, are you serious? Like, it was a good take. And I'm like, one of them just ran by. I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah. Thank God I have this little space now that I could come and do this. But I remember before I was like closing my bedroom door, and I was like, like I'd have Jonathan come to my apartment, and I'd be like telling my daughter, I'm like, Kennedy, don't come in the room, if you need anything. And then sometimes you would hear her walking in going, Daddy, thinking she's whispering,
Well, that's like, like Rich, records Pop 2K and stuff, and like he says Emmy tries to come in once in a while, and that, the same thing with me too. Like I do this show when I record Yelling from the Bench. I do it late at night. My wife's already sleeping, but like I do Zoom calls with baseball writers. I'm part of the Internet Baseball Writers Association of America. And we do Zoom calls for other writers, kind of get together and talk. Those we have to do, for a totally different time. So like I go like, honey, I got to do the Zoom call. She goes, okay. She'll go in the bedroom and do. It's complicated. It's a pain in the ass, So I would love to step up and have your little digs right there. Like, I live in Milford, Connecticut. So maybe a lot of people don't know this, but the great Dan Patrick, he does his show in Milford, Connecticut. Is actually where he
use his studio. That's all you gotta do.
So
you're over here emailing Nick Hastings when you need to be emailing him.
His old studio actually is like within walking distance from my apartment, and I walk by it all the time, and I'm like, someday. That's the goal. That is the goal. Someday is to record in Dan Patrick's old studio. Like I want to. It's right above bars.
That's so cool, man. That's so cool.
It is. It's right above the bars. I could just go do my show and then just go have a beer after.
As time goes on, you'll find like a little area, and especially even in your apartment, if you find like a designated area. I mean, as long as you got your right here, that's all you need,
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Like even like years ago when I tried recording stuff, like I was still living in my parents' basement, that setup was 1,000 times worse because it was still my kid bedroom. So like I'm like, oh, let me record something, and then there's a Eminem poster in the back, or
That's so funny.
just so like legit. I still like if you go to my parents' house now, everything from like when I was 15 is still up there. So like there's Limp Bizkit posters, and then there's
Carmen
posters of
Electra.
do I have I might have a Carmen Electra poster, but like tons of bikini models. I want a poster from a porn star, uh, due to a lap dance concert, a lap dance contest. That's an interesting story. I was 15 and I won a lap dance contest.
Oh, you want to hear a funny story about your kid bedroom? When I must have been like 10 years old, and I remember I thought my bedroom was the shit, right? Because I'd always get like WWF, the magazine, right? And I remember I like cut out if there was ever like a picture that looked like a little 8x10 of like Stone Cold Steve Austin, right?
Yeah.
I had my bedroom from fucking floor to ceiling with pictures. So it was like a big ass mural on my wall, right? And one time, one of my dad's sisters had come over. I was so stoked to show it to her, you know? I was like, hey, I was like, look at, watch. Come look at my room. Come look at my room, you know? And she looked at it and she goes, oh, I thought you would have like naked girls or something. And I was all, I'm 10, bitch. I'm proud of this, you know? And it was so funny. She was so like not impressed, you know?
I was the same thing too, though. I had wall to wall covered. Same thing on my ceiling. I started doing my ceiling, but then I had a little spot of the bikini girls right above, like on the ceiling above my bed.
Yeah.
And I swear, and I will swear on this, I never did anything weird to myself in the bed looking up at the bikini girls.
I was going to joke
but
about that. But
everybody thought I did. Like, oh, you specifically put the girls
right above where you sleep.
Yeah, I'm like, I swear I never did anything. But like it just, I thought of it as beautiful way to to go to bed.
To go to bed. Yeah,
exactly.
It was, you know, and it was so innocent. It was so
exactly.
innocent. And people just want to make everything dirty, you know.
I know.
Oh, you know what? Well, man, I know you said that you had some notes from the week. I have a few things that I have, but I always like to let the new person or the new co-host go ahead and give a few of their thoughts. So, what's up?
Well, the one thing that like the guys have been talking about, besides John Dillerman, which I am a huge fan of, when I can watch that show, John Dillerman. I love that. I cannot wait. I swear to God, if I can find that show on YouTube, I am watching that shit. Yeah, I watched the video before they mentioned it on the air. I had seen it like maybe a couple days prior, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is the most. I'm like, there's no way it's true. I thought it's like, how like SNL used to do the TV Funhouse with the cartoons and stuff. Mm-hmm. I thought that's what it was. I'm like, oh, it's just like
same here.
I thought it was like a parody. Like, no, this is real. I'm like, all right. And I think it was funny watching the video, but the way they do it, like the way they talked about it, the way they drop in the John Dillerman soundbite makes it that much funnier. It really does.
And I really did. I thought it was a parody too. I was like, there's no way in hell. And when they did mention it was like Dutch or wherever the hell it's from, it was like, I go, maybe it could be real, because I know people like in other countries don't have like restrictions like we do.
Yeah.
And then I Googled it, and I was at work, so I was like, fuck, hopefully I don't get fired because of this. But I was at work and I Googled it, and I was like, holy shit, this thing is real. Like I saw a bunch of like news little videos talking about it, and it was that's fucking nuts, man. It's fucking definitely not Barney like I was watching when I was fucking 5.
No, I was watching Eureka's Castle and Gullah Gullah Island. I don't know. I saw
Castle,
Binya Binya.
That's a throwback.
He wasn't Binya Binya wasn't packing nothing. So
Yeah, he was a pollywog.
Ex- exactly. But
I wonder how many Carls listening to this would get the Benya Benya pollywog reference, because that, my sister, she's a few years younger than I am, and that was
yeah,
her shit. She liked, James, what was it, baby Simeon and Vanessa. I want to hear a funny story about my sister, and it's funny because she's a Carlette or a Carlita, whatever they want to call them. But
yeah,
I remember I don't know what it is with my family, but I went through a phase where I thought I was black, right? I wanted an afro. I contemplated getting my hair really tightly permed.
yeah.
I wanted a fucking afro, right? Well, it must have been around the same time, because my sister, I remember one time, she must have been in like kindergarten or not even in school yet. She had my mom do like 50,000 braids on her with little beads, because she wanted to look like Vanessa and the girls on Gullah Gullah Island. So there's this little white girl Mexican girl, but looking like a little white girl, a head full of braids with freaking beads on them. So when you say Gullah Gullah Island, that was definitely in my wheelhouse. More of my sister's, but yeah, that's crazy. I think you're the only person I've ever met to make a Gullah Gullah Island reference.
That's what I try to do. I always try to bring a new perspective.
That's cool. And you said Eureka's Castle. Holy
that was
shit,
my favorite one.
That's another thing I forgot about, Let me see. I have a couple of things. I was actually surprised that Jordan sold all of her shit.
And that was another thing I wanted to bring up too, because I want to get into this because I have so much junk at my parents' house that I need to go through someday. And that's what I want to start doing. I want to start selling stuff. But like, I'm like what a lot of people say is, I don't want to meet people and give them my, like, I want to eBay where it's just like, all right, list it, ship it. I don't know if I want to do where are we meeting? They would never come to my house. I would never let anybody come to my house. I'd rather meet them in a dark alleyway than have them know where I live.
Same here.
That's the whole thing, is like, especially now with like the pandemic, I don't want to be interacting with some random sketchy person that's looking me up to buy a $20 file cabinet or something like that. To me, that just, it screams creepy. But I do want to start doing it because I do have a ton of junk that I need to get rid of. So I don't know if I know the way with the guys are doing it a lot, because they've all been moving recently. And I have some stuff that I still I have some stuff that I want to start doing. So I think I have to get over that. Like, I just need to get rid of this shit.
Yeah. And I'm starting to do that. Actually, after we're done recording, I'm going to go and get rid of so much shit. Actually, it's not even at my parents' house, in my apartment, because there's so much shit that just needs to go in the trash, or needs to be sold, or needs to,
Exactly. Like, and the thing is too, like, I have like an old TV. I have a TV stand. Me and my wife bought a new TV stand. And I said, well, she says, oh, keep this one, bring it to your parents' house. I'm like, they don't want it. I tried to tell her, oh, let's just put it on, like OfferUp or Craigslist. She just goes, no, don't do that. Like, what are you going to do that for? No one's going to want to buy it. I'm like, I'll put that thing up for $20, $20-$30. Someone will buy it.
Yeah. But, and honestly, that's where I'm at, where I'm like, you know what? I need to stop being like lazy. That's what it comes to. Yeah. And actually put a little bit of effort, and I could meet somebody at like the Taco Bell, like 5 minutes away from my house or whatever. Yeah. Because that was something that I think Rich mentioned, where he was like, you could put up a NutriBullet for $20 or whatever the fuck it was. And he was like, they'll come to your house and pick it up. And I'm like, I don't know. I just don't want, it sounds stupid, but I don't want strangers, with my cell phone number, knowing where I live,
Yeah, exactly. I don't want them to know where I live.
I'd rather meet them down at the Circle K, fucking 2 minutes away or whatever, or the Taco Bell down the street. But I'm like, I really do just need to put that effort into it, because I just think about how much money, like that $50 I could have got. I'm like, that could have, like Cavino said, when somebody like Cavino that makes money or rich that makes money is saying they could use an extra $20. And Covino said that'll go a long way when you're getting gas. And
Yeah,
I'm like, who the fuck am I when I'm over here struggling, you know?
that's what I'm
And I'm
saying.
like, and these motherfuckers make good money. They have, you know, they're wealthy, and they're like, fuck it, I could use that $20 to fill up my tank or whatever. I'm
Yeah,
like, fuck it, I need to do it, you know?
I know. Like I'm the same way too. Like for me, like most of my junk is again at my parents' house. I have like thousands of baseball cards that I need to like sift through someday. And I
Mm-hmm.
want to just, most of them are valueless. Like they're worth like a few cents here and there, but I want to find that, like, I want to find that, you know, that little gem that's worth a few $100. But that takes time. And then that too, I have comic books. I got just books in general, old furniture that someday I'm just like, I need to go through it. I need to just like throw it up and try and make some money. Why the hell not? Why the hell not?
I'm sure you could get at least like $5 for an old Eminem poster, you know?
If it's, yeah, I could do that. I don't care. I really don't care. Like if somebody wants my Johnny Knoxville Jackass poster for $1, sure, you can take it. I
Yeah.
actually have like probably like 50, 60 old posters from the 2000s. I could probably get some guy that's like in his early 40s, single, living in a bachelor pad that wants to relive his old days. And I'll just be like, $20 for like 40 posters. Here you go.
Hey, you're gonna sell all of those to Johnny Lawrence?
No, it's
He's
not
gonna
Warren. It's not Poison, but you know.
he's gonna get there with his aviators and his Coors.
I
You
actually
know,
almost
they're
wore. I have a Motley Crue shirt. I almost wore that one for the show.
yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
do I want? I was like, nah. We'll go Sandlot today. But
You
yeah,
know what? Actually, I do have a question because you're definitely way more into sports than I am.
yeah,
I've always been a basketball fan. That's been my shit. I have a question though when it comes to sports. It was something that Cavino and Rich mentioned a few episodes, or actually maybe it was like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Um, and it was something that I feel like even they grazed over, and I feel like they could have given it a little more airtime. Was
yeah,
Carmelo Anthony surpassing Tim Duncan for, I think it was like the 14th spot for like the all time points or whatever. And what
yeah,
I was thinking is, I was like, and somebody who grew up on Kobe Bryant, that was I'm a fucking diehard Lakers fan. And,
yeah.
you know, it was around that time that even Carmelo was coming up. It was Kobe and LeBron. And I even feel like for a moment, Carmelo was in that, he was in that conversation, especially when LeBron was coming up. So you're hearing about these newer people, LeBron and Carmelo.
Mhm.
And for some reason, you know, Carmelo, I feel like he didn't get the respect that he deserved. And, you know, I know he kind of fell off for a minute. So he's
Mhm.
14th for all-time scoring. I'm like, I feel like nobody puts him in any conversations, and that's quite an accomplishment. I just wanted to know what your take was in the sports world, and somebody who has a little more knowledge than I do. What do you think the reason was that he doesn't get he doesn't get the credit I feel like he does deserve?
I think it has a lot to do with the fact that he's never won a championship. He's never been to an NBA final. The Nuggets teams you were on were okay,
Mm-hmm.
but that the time with the Knicks, like I live in Connecticut, so like I know New York sports are huge here,
Mm-hmm.
and just the coverage of how bad the Knicks were every year, even with Carmelo, and just how you need to carry a team, especially in basketball because you only have five guys on the court. One person can always take that team and bring it to if they're really good, they can help that team win.
Mm-hmm.
You look at LeBron James when he was in Cleveland, how
Yeah.
bad those teams were, and he made them look good. He didn't win championships that first run in Cleveland, but you look at how they were when he was on the team, and you see how bad they were when he went to Miami.
Yeah.
And he
No,
won
and
his first.
definitely when he came when he came to Cleveland, I mean, like almost immediately he made those teams
Yeah,
a contender, you
yeah,
know, and that's actually been something that he's done in every team he's come to, and I think, you know, that makes a good point. I never thought of it that way because, you know, I was thinking about Carmelo, and I was like, damn, he really did like kind of get the short end of the stick, you know. But I was like, even when I know like when LeBron went to Miami and he had Chris Bosh and he had fucking
mm,
Dwayne Wade, and you know, like, okay, I get that, but there was a lot of teams. Even when LeBron came to the Lakers, there was I mean, it wasn't really. I mean, yeah, he got Anthony Davis, but I was like, I just feel like there were so many more scrubs on the team that
yeah,
he actually made better. You know?
yeah. And that's the thing too. He elevates. LeBron has always elevated these teams. I'm not a LeBron fan. I'll admit it, but I appreciate LeBron. I appreciate what he's done in the league, in the fact that again, when he went back to Cleveland, he won that championship, and then he left again, and you've seen how bad the team was. So
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
see what LeBron does, and basketball especially, championships are valued, I think, more than numbers in itself. I think there's a very few exceptions. I think Charles Barkley's probably the only person who never won a championship, but we
But
veer as one of the greats. But I think because basketball is so, again, there's five people on the court, we value, do they win championships? How much do they elevate their team? And I think in football too, we kind of do that. Also, we don't look at numbers necessarily. We look at, especially when it comes to quarterbacks,
mm-hmm.
did they win the championships? We look at the Montanas, the Bradys, even Peyton winning 3. We talk about them as being some of the all-time greats. Dan Marino was one of the greats, but we don't veer him in there because never won a Super Bowl. But with baseball, it's kind of the contrast. Numbers are so hallowed
Mm-hmm.
and revered in baseball that you may not necessarily have won a championship. You may not necessarily did that, but you could be considered a great player. Ted Williams, one of the greatest players of all time, never won a championship.
Yeah, yeah.
So
You know
it's
what?
just
I think you really
kind
do
of the
make.
way all these different sports have that like different contrast.
Yeah, you make some good points right there because, um, yeah, I couldn't agree more, and it's something that I never really thought about, and that was kind of why when I kind of wish Cavino and Rich would have talked about some of the things we're talking about, you know, when it came to Carmelo, but they kind of mentioned it. It was kind of a throwaway topic, and
Yeah.
but no, that definitely makes a lot of sense, and I think now that you say that, I think there was a lot of factors that contributed to it, and not winning a championship, you know, not really bringing the team up to par. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, he's a great player, but I think there's something to be said. And like you said about LeBron, I've never been a LeBron fan, and it's even hard for me now to root for him because I hated him for so many years. You know, and when he comes to your team, it's like, so what the fuck do I do now? Like, do I root against him? But I'm like, I've been a Lakers fan since fucking before I was born, you know?
Yeah.
Like, half my family lives in LA, and
Yeah.
they go to the Staples Center like I go to fucking Walmart, you know? And now LeBron's there. So now I'm cheering for him. And I just feel like such a fucking hypocrite now, you know? And it's just like, fuck. Oh, you know what I wanted to talk to you about? And it was something that I don't know if you just liked my tweet to like my tweet, but
Yeah.
I had mentioned something about the Takashi 6ix9ine documentary. Have you watched it?
I haven't watched it yet, but I do want to. I know who Takashi 69 was. I actually have a couple of his songs on my Spotify playlist. The I th- I don't understand what the fuck he's saying, but I actually like the beats. I'm into his beats. I think the beats are like they're great. to listen to when you're at the gym, and then you watch the videos and you look at them. I'm like, okay, as long as I don't look at the guy and I just listen to the beats and get hyped, I'm all good. But I do want to, like, because I did follow that story about, you know, him getting arrested and then snitching on people. So I'm actually interested in watching that documentary. It's definitely something I'm going to watch. I've got like 1,000 things I need to watch. I'm on Cobra Kai episode. I'm on season 2 of Cobra Kai right now, episode 4. So, and that's the one thing I haven't listened to the town hall yet, because I know they people mentioned that they kind of gave some spoilers. So I don't want to get there yet. I can't do it, and I'm trying. Like so for like from August until honestly like New Year's Day, all I consume is fantasy football and sports betting, all the stuff I do for Bro Bible. So I literally had no time to watch any show, like no time. Like I would the only thing I ever watched is Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. I watched pro wrestling. That was it. That was all I watched. And I would just graze through it just to kind of make sure I'm catching up. But now that like my fantasy football stuff and my sports betting, I'm still doing all the playoff stuff, but that doesn't take as much time. I'm starting now to get back into Cobra Kai, and I'm going to watch Mandalorian next and all that stuff.
I have a solution for you. So the Takashi documentary is on Hulu.
Yeah.
Download the Hulu app onto your phone. And as you're dropping some bait, watch 2 minutes here, 2 minutes there. In the next 6 months, you'll have watched the documentary. And I'll be honest, I was talking to one of my buddies about Tekashi, and I have, when it comes to him, the only thing, I mean, I had seen his pictures, right? Because you can't miss him if you're alive.
Yeah.
But I knew nothing of him. I knew nothing about his music. I knew nothing. The only thing I knew about him was he snitched on people because I saw the memes, right? You couldn't avoid the memes. And so I was actually really, I had heard some good things before Covino mentioned it. And then when Covino endorsed it, I go, you know what? He stands behind whatever shows he watches, and he'll tell you if it was a hunk of shit. And so I was like, you know what? I'll watch this. So I watched it. Actually, I watched it twice. I had it one time playing kind of in the background when I was at work. And the second time I actually sat down and watched it. And it's such a fucking fascinating story. And like how they talk about how he was basically, he knew he was like trolling people. He didn't give a fuck. And he was basically doing whatever it took, literally whatever it took to like get his family out of poverty and shit. And like, and he didn't give a fuck. And he was like, it was crazy. They talk about how like his girlfriend moved in with him, you know, and she wasn't even like, she couldn't, it was weird for her at first because they were so poor, you know?
Yeah.
And she moved in with him and his family, and one of the things he said is like, he's like, oh, I slept on this bed right here. They go into his apartment or whatever. And he's like, I slept on this bed. He was like with my mom. He goes until a way, he says like a way late age or a way. So he was like maybe close to his teens, you know?
Yeah.
And it just shows you how like some people are like, fuck it, I'm going to do whatever I can to like get out of this poverty. And he literally did what he could, you know? And like it made me laugh when you said that you don't know what the fuck he's saying, but the music, the beats are good.
Yeah.
And that was another quote. And I'm like, I know you're probably not going to watch the documentary for another 6 months, so I don't feel like they're really spoilers.
At this point, it's probably going to be. I still got to watch like Mandalorian. I got to start that, and WandaVision just came on, and I just got through the Walter Mercado documentary. So,
when you said you liked the beat, but you don't know what the fuck he's saying.
Yeah.
There's a point in the documentary where he's gonna start working with somebody, and he straight up told the dude, "Hey, he's like, the music's trash, but my video's fire." You know, and the people were like, We've never heard that. You know, anybody you talk to that makes music, that makes beats, they're like, my shit, you know, I'm the next fucking Jay-Z. My shit's fire. My shit's fire. Everything is fire. And this dude was like, this is like the first person I've ever worked with is like, listen, my music's trash. Let's get that out of the way. He's like, you know, but my video is going to be fucking hot, you know? He's like, and he's renting Lamborghinis and he's fucking hanging out the window with his fucking chains and shit. And I'm like, it just shows you how this motherfucker, he did think about shit on a different level.
Yeah.
Because,
and like they mentioned, like that's kind of younger kids now, especially with the TikTok and stuff like that. They do think about the visual. They want to be visually stimulated. And for him, it worked. I have seen his videos, and it's like his lyrics are a hunk of shit. I get fired up from the beats. The dude looks weird, but the video is even weirder, but people are watching it. So, and he did something right. Yeah. Did something wrong later, but he did something right to start.
You know, and there was something, I do a lot of like research and shit, when it comes to like, basically like getting like people to listen to your podcast or people to, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And there was one thing that I had seen where they were like, and I don't follow this at all because when I like put up the videos, I just fucking put them up and I'm like, hey, the Carls are they're gonna listen or watch or they're not, whatever. I don't give a fuck. But they were saying like if you are trying to have like a fucking like a big YouTube channel or a big, you know, whatever, you have 3 seconds to get the people's attention. So 3 seconds. So some people, they'll hit you with a big long intro or they'll hit you with a, hey everybody, you know, my name's fucking Bill and I like to talk about fucking, you know, microphones. And, you know, by then somebody's going to your next video. Yeah. So, you know, they're seeing your thumbnail or whatever and they click on your video. You have 3 seconds. So they said like, take like, say you're baking fucking cookies, right? So rather than being like, hey everybody, today we're going to learn how to bake fucking cookies. Like rather than that, at the fucking start of the video, put a 2-second clip of you fucking pulling them out of the fucking oven, you know? And so people are like, oh shit, those are the cookies they're going to make? They'll keep watching. And I feel like he fucking mastered that with his fucking look, you know?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Just you see him and you're like, I don't know what the fuck's going on here, but I'm intrigued, you know?
So what you're saying is for the next episode of Yelling for the Bench, I have to get 69 tattooed on my face.
You have to get either that. I would say you don't want to do exactly what he did, so get it on your cheek.
Okay.
If you're going to wear a hat a majority of the time, you got the beard. So you got to get a big 6'9".
No, I'll just do 96, and I'll say I'll just do like a 96 and be like, I'm Takashi. I don't know. But
yeah, you're Shikati. Yeah, man. But that documentary, I know I spent way too much time talking about it, but I was super intrigued because
I do want to watch it. Yeah,
I knew nothing about him.
Well, that was the thing. Like, Cavino mentions these documentaries that of people that you made, like the Walter Mercado documentary. He kept talking about it. I again, I'm as white as they come. I never even heard of Walter Mercado. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? But the way that Cavino described him, I'm like, I'm gonna try it. Mm-hmm. And I watched it on like a Saturday afternoon, and I'm like, this guy is weird, but he's so mesmerizing. And I watched the entire documentary, and I did message Cavino like the day after I finished watching. I'm like, dude, I watched this Walter Mercado not knowing anything about it, but it was awesome. This guy was so interesting, so awesome. Again, the visuals, the guy, you know, wearing all the weird clothes and the makeup and all that stuff. But like, you know, I do like watching things of people, like documentaries, and learning about people that may not have ever heard of, but if they're interesting to me, I'll definitely fuck with it.
You know what I tried not to do is I tried not to watch, and I can't help it, but I try not to watch documentaries on like musicians, even though I've seen every documentary probably on every musician that I dig.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why I say I try not to watch them is because I get into like if I watch a Bob Marley documentary for the next month, all I listen to is Bob Marley. All I listen to, and I'm like, you know, or if I'm watching an Eminem documentary or fucking I watched like the one that was really good, and it was maybe two or 3 years ago, was the one on fucking Tom Petty.
Okay.
That one was fucking dope. So for the next month, all I'm fucking can't back down, you know? I'm like the next, and I'm fucking like I don't know if it's because you learn about, you know, their life, and you learn about, you know, what went into these songs and why they wrote these songs. And, you know, the most recent one is there was a Bee Gees documentary. And
yes.
Have you seen it or no?
On Access TV?
No, it was on HBO.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it might have been actually. They might have had it on Access TV.
There was one on Access TV, and I'm gonna say this. You look at me. I got a big beard. I almost wore a Motley Crue T-shirt. I love metal, but I am a secret diehard Bee Gees fan. I love the Bee Gees. So like I saw a documentary on the Bee Gees on Access TV, and I started watching it, and I was like, I gotta find more documentaries. And yes, there is one on HBO that I'm gonna check out. And again, I saw this like back like 2 months ago, and I completely forgot about it until you just mentioned it. But
if you go to my Apple Music, you can see recently added. I got Bee Gees, and then I got a Barry Gibb little shit right here too. Watch, let's see if that'll get into focus.
I love the Bee Gees. I'm one of those people that'll listen to anything and everything. If it's good, I'll listen to it. Like I go from like Slayer, Pantera, or Slipknot to Jay-Z or Eminem. I'll go into Bee Gees, or you know, even like Mamas and the Papas, or
I'm
like
with
the
you right
Four
there.
Tops,
Definitely.
Temptations.
Exactly. And you know what? A lot of that shit you mentioned was it's funny because recently is it Corey Taylor from Slipknot?
Yeah.
Well, I had watched I think an interview with him recently. After that, I was like I'd never listened to Slipknot in my life. And if there was like any metal or anything, I listened to like shit like Children of Bodom or like Cradle of Filth.
Yeah.
But when it comes to music, like I know Cavino and Rich like to break my balls about like the pop music that I dig, but I have such a wide, you know, scope of like the music I listen to where I got into Slipknot just recently, and I was like some of these songs are pretty dope. And then I watched that Bee Gees documentary, and now I have fucking a brand new Bee Gees playlist. And for me, my dad was a huge fan of the Bee Gees, right? So I grew up listening to the Bee Gees.
Yeah.
And then in this documentary, I actually caught a couple of songs that I had never heard before. And so I was like, fuck, man, like I wouldn't even say I'm a closet Bee Gees fan. I dig the Bee Gees, you know?
Oh, I will. I'm not going to say I'm a closet either. I will tell everybody I fucking love the Bee Gees.
Yeah. Like, it's just crazy to me, like, because I remember when like Maurice died, and you hear like Barry is basically the only brother left because Andy died very young. Yeah. And it's crazy. I believe he's the oldest, and then there was the two twins that were in the Bee Gees, but it's so crazy when you think about he's the last of the brothers, and he, you know, when they actually brought that falsetto and that, you know, that became their signature sound, you know?
Yeah.
That, you know, well, you can tell by the way, you know, that they went as high as you could fucking go.
I wouldn't even try that. I'll give you a hand for that. I won't even try. I would have to punch myself in the nuts to even get close there.
No, you know, and it's just crazy because like you learn about, you know, the first song that they actually did that on, and you know, it's just like, fuck, man. I hear that and I'm just like, I gotta hear fucking I don't know. I fucking dig the Bee Gees, and that's something that I don't know if I've ever even mentioned on all the fucking 50 some odd episodes that we have, you know. But that was like I told you. I watch a documentary and I'm in it.
Yeah,
You know.
I've heard about that documentary on HBO, and I have to watch it. I keep forgetting that's another thing.
And you know
I
what? I
definitely
don't know. I don't know if you have HBO, but if you don't,
I do.
I'll send. Oh, I was gonna say I'll send you my login because I want you to watch it.
Yeah, I know. I got it. We got everything.
Yeah. You even have like a gigantic cup of water.
Oh yeah, I drink one and a half of these every single day.
That's
Every single
dope.
day.
Is that a gallon or what is that?
This is a liter. I like this one because it's got a bigger spout and it's got a handle on, and I like the
Yeah.
handle on it. I drink, especially like I try to stay as much hydrated as possible. I am a health conscious person somewhat. I cut out sweets. That's always like my big thing. Like for the most part, I'll eat healthy. I go to the gym every day. I'm going to go hit the gym right after this. Like my wife told me, my wife's at work and she's like, usually she gets home on Friday because she's a school teacher. She gets home super early on Friday. She doesn't do any after school work. So she's usually at home at like 3. And I'm like, all right, I got to do this podcast. Let's see. Well, hopefully we'll get done on time and I can go hit the gym real quick. And then she's been now like making it a thing to go to the gym after work. So she says, we'll reconvene at like 5:30. I'm like, perfect. That means I can go to the gym for like 3 hours after this.
Yeah,
so
and you know what? And not to, I mean, fuck, man, I've been doing a lot of nut swinging these last couple of episodes. The last one, fucking, I was swinging from Covino and Rich's nuts from, just thanking them for everything. And
Yeah.
this one, I'm just gonna tell you, you're a big dude, but you look like you do look like you like played football, you know? Like
I tried playing football. It wasn't for me. I was a baseball guy. I loved playing baseball. That was what I played from 5 years old, and I played a little bit in college.
Okay, I'll tell you this, and I'm taking a note I'm taking a page out of the Covino and Rich compliment handbook, just so it's not a backhanded compliment. You look like a younger, more fit, more handsome version of Kevin James as far as like your build. Because you see him like he's fucking like 100 pounds heavier than you, but you can see under that there's like a fucking there's a build, there's like a fitness build, and
I've always had like a bigger build. I always have. Like I was always like my whole family, everybody in my family is like thinner, like lankier people, and then there was me who was just this big stocky kid. I've always been like bigger, stocky, that type of person. So when I got into working out, when like late teens, early 20s, it was so easy for me to get big.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people, like I always tell people like, oh yeah, and what do you bench? 3 something or whatever. Like, oh man. And they're like, oh yeah, I could go up in my bench like 10, 15 pounds in like 2-3 weeks and gain muscle like it's nothing. But then I look at people that like are ripped and shred and Johnny Ripple pecs and have dick abs, and I'm just like, fuck you.
Do you know who Brian Shaw is or no?
The name
he's an American from the World's Strongest Men. He's 6'8".
Okay, all right, yeah.
He's 6'8" and he's like 420. And this motherfucker, like I would say, even more than Kevin James, you have a very Brian Shaw like build to you.
I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah, but like I actually was thinking of, like I never wanted to get into like bodybuilding because again, those people have to eat perfect and weigh out their food and fuck that shit. But I always had when I was younger, I wish I had gotten into like lifting competitions or even like strongman stuff. Like I even still think about it. I'm not that old. I'm 35. So I think like if I might have a little window to do it, and I've always thought about doing it. But but again too, like that stuff is just so dedicating, and I just don't have the time, and I am somewhat lazy sometimes.
You know what? I guess I'm just very influenced by media I consume because now that you're saying that, I was telling you about the documentaries and how I go on like these binges of music when I'm watching a documentary. the same thing goes for like shit I'm watching where like I'll watch like I don't know, like I'll watch like a the Cocaine Cowboys, you know, and all of a
Okay.
sudden I want to become fucking a coke dealer, you know? And but honestly, I mean, there could be some positives because when it comes to like I'm not sure how many like bodybuilders you know about, but you know, because you mentioned briefly, you know, something about that field, but
Yeah.
like my favorite bodybuilder of all time is Kai Green. Kai
Oh
Green is
yeah.
that's my fucking dude, you know,
Have you
and
watched all the Pumping Irons? There's three
I've
different. There's
watched.
three.
Yeah, the third one I didn't dig as much. The
Yeah.
first one's probably my favorite.
Yeah,
The
of
second
course.
one was okay, but you know the second one I believe they focus more on Phil Heath
Yeah.
and the people like of today's generation.
Yeah.
But the third one they focused on a dude that I really didn't know much about and I really didn't care for.
Hmm.
But no, when I watch those, even if I watch the very first one with Arnold and Lou Ferrigno and them,
Yeah.
I fucking for the next week, I'm fucking lifting and I'm fucking weighing out my food, you know. And it's there's actually a couple of Kai Green documentaries that
Yeah.
I've watched that I can fucking talk. I can mime the entire documentary because I've seen them so many times, you know. And if I ever need inspiration to like
Yeah.
start lifting again or getting into a little bit better shape, I throw on one of those Kai Green documentaries, and I'm all about it. Now I'm not
You
lifting
gonna
every day
grow his
like
hair?
you.
You grow the hair like it? Can you get that long
Just
bone?
yeah. Hey, you know what? I'll try it. He does have that scar on his face that makes him a little more. I think it gives him a little more street cred.
Yeah.
But
There is a documentary, a strongman with I think Shaw's on it. Bjorn, whatever his name is, the mountain from Game of Thrones is on it.
mhm.
Another strongman's on it. It's a strongman. I think it might be on Netflix. I watched it like a couple of years ago. And it's the Arnold Classic. You know, the strongman Arnold
I
Classic
watched it.
competition. You did? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I watched
that
that one
one.
too. Like, and it's like I used to be able to lift like that. I don't do it as much anymore because like I'm old now. My body's starting to hurt on me. But like I wish I could just like they make it look so easy.
Yeah,
And
yeah, and
they're so big and
that's
beefy.
something that I've always dug, and I mean I've been bigger than I am, I've been smaller than I am
Yeah.
right now, but I've one thing that I've always enjoyed is lifting, and
Yeah.
when it comes to like cardio and shit, not my best friend,
Me
but
neither.
when it comes to lifting, I fucking love it. And you know, the last time I was in Tucson, you know, I was visiting my buddy Luis, and he was like telling me how we need to lift with his father-in-law and all this shit because he's like he fucking loves to lift. He's like, I know you love to lift, and it's just like there's just something about you get that blood pumping and you just feel like, especially bigger dudes like us, you know, we can
Yeah.
put up more weight. Even me that I haven't lifted in a minute, you know, we start way more than the average person. You can
Oh
throw
yeah.
245s on there, so you got what is it like 215 or some shit or 225 I think is.
225. Yeah.
So you get the and you do a couple of reps of that and you're feeling like I just got back to the gym and I'm already fucking stronger than everybody, you know?
Well, that was the thing too. You know, when the pandemic hit, our gyms closed for 3 months, and then they opened back up, and I went, and I'm like, I put up like, oh, let me get back to my normal. I put up 225, and I'm like, oh, oh shit, and I'm like, I haven't felt this weak in years, and it only took me maybe about 2-3 weeks, and I'm like, I'm back up to like putting up like 315 again, like it was nothing. Like, and people would probably look at me like, you son of a bitch. But then I
Yeah.
look at like people who come back, who hadn't been in the gym in like 2 months, and they still got the ripped abs and chiseled chest, and I'm like,
Yeah.
you son of a bitch. I looked at food.
I'll
It
never
was,
be that guy and I've accepted it.
yeah. I mean, for me, like, I just need to cut out like the sugar stuff. Like I love eating cookies and cake and all that stuff. I'm one of those like I don't snack like potato chips or anything like that. I like if I see a, like if we have like a plate of cookies, I'll always take one, or like a piece of candy, I'll just take one, and then I'll walk around it again and I'll see it, I'll take it again. I've stopped that for New Year's, and I feel like over the last few weeks I've actually done a little better.
Yeah. No, it was funny
I've lost
because
a few pounds.
I told my sister yesterday, I was like, all right, at the time of us recording this, I'll probably put it out Sunday.
Yeah.
But, I told my sister last night, I'm like, Joel, I'm like, can't believe this shit. I'm like, I've been trying to go more carnivore, right? So I've been trying to eat more meat. I've cut out, no lie, probably like 80% of the carbs I was eating. So I'm just, and I told my sister last night, I'm like, Joel, I've been dieting since Sunday and I'm still not skinny. What the fuck? Man, well, you know what? I'm gonna wrap this up because I don't want to keep you any longer. I know you got to get to the gym, you got the wife to get to, all that good stuff. But I honestly, man, I enjoyed this shit so much. I really enjoyed talking with you again, and
I do too, man. I love doing, and like again, the big reason why I was like waiting so long is because I'm like a week and a half behind on the show. And the other thing is too, like even the last time I did the episode, I'm like, oh, let me prepare notes. What did they talk about on the show this week? And we barely talked about.
We end up getting to like two things, if that.
Exactly. And then when we come on here, it's all right. I got my notes. What did they talk about in the show this week? I'm at work, like listening to the show, and I'm like writing notes in my phone. And we maybe covered again like two things that were actually.
It's funny because that's kind of, I feel like that's how the show actually has been since the very first show when Jonathan and I started doing it. Is that him and I, we've known each other since we were kids. So we were in like second grade when we met and we became buddies or whatever. We're in our 30s, so we've been friends our entire lives.
Yeah,
and we do this. We would do the same thing. We would come with notes and. 2 minutes in, we're talking about, a local bar where, somebody got shot, and it just, that's honestly though, one of the things that I like about this show is that and the same thing with El Kukui. I've got to know him a little bit, over the last couple of months. And we do the same thing where we're talking and then we end up talking about TV shows we're watching. And that's honestly kind of like in my thought of when I wanted to put the show together, I thought we're going to talk about Covino and Rich stuff, and that's going to be the show. But what I like about it is that we talk how you would talk to a buddy, right, about the show. So like me and my buddy Jonathan, we worked together for like 2 years, and we would be talking about the show, or we would be listening to the show, but then we go off on tangents, And if you go off on a tangent, then that's more natural to me than being like, hey, Soupy, you're talking about your posters. Can we bring it in a little? How fucking boring would that be, And
the thing is, too, I've done tons of podcasts. I've been working in radio and television for a long time, and I've always enjoyed the interviews or the conversations that have always been like, where I'll have 14 questions. If I'm interviewing someone, I'll have like, I over prepare. That's just the way I always do everything. I over prepare. I'll have like 15 questions set up with somebody. And I feel like the best interview is when I ask maybe 2 or 3, because, I'll ask them like the initial question, and then they'll bring up something. And then I go with the follow-up question. And then we just kind of have a conversation about it. And that's what it turns into. And those to me have always been the best interviews and the conversations that I've had. Again, because, I've worked in this industry for a long time, and it's, there's, and Covino and Rich know this, the painful interviews where it's just like, you're talking, you're like trying to pull answers for like, and then you just go through all your questions like, oh shit, I got nothing else to ask them. Like, what the fuck do I do?
Yeah, and those... when you need to go to your questions, that's when the interview is not going great.
Exactly.
But when it's like when you just like that's one of the things that I really enjoyed about the town hall is that Covino and Rich are such big fans of the movies,
Mm-hmm.
is that they had a couple of things they wanted to hit on, but for the most part, they were they were just conversing with the people, and with Ralph Macchio, and Billy Zabka and all them. They were like things they genuinely were interested in and all that. And honestly, I feel like when I'm meeting somebody, like I'm meeting you on Zoom, and face to face for the first time,
Yeah.
but I just feel like us having that built-in connection about we dig the show, and then we talk about a couple of things, but then we almost become like just like you're talking with one of your friends that you've known your whole life.
Yeah.
And that's what I enjoy about doing this, is that I just feel like, at least for me, we can't have any Covino and Rich conventions or anything. So for me, I just feel like I'm having a beer with you on the boat to go see the Statue of Liberty.
And that's the one that I wish I'd gone, like, because again, I live in Connecticut. I can take a hour train ride to New York City, and I never went to a CNR show. I never went to the CNR conventions. I wholeheartedly regret it, especially like with the way last year happened, and them saying that they might move the convention to Vegas. I'm like, well, now I got to take a fucking plane if I want to go do this.
Mm-hmm.
That sucks. And I've actually been to the Sirius XM studios 3 times. I've interviewed for jobs there a few times. One time when I was there was when they were actually doing a show. They were interviewing Elijah Cuthbert, not Dishku. I was gonna say Dishku, Cuthbert. And I wish I had, just like the way the way they are. They're the most interactive show. I wish, and I look back at it now, I kind of regret it. I wish I had just like mentioned, like, hit up Spot, like, yo, dude, I'm coming to the studio. Can I just come and like just peek in? I wish I
Yeah.
had done that. I never did, and I kind of regret that now. Looking back, especially like when they moved to LA, and that's, and they used to, when they were in the studios, allow fans to come in and just kind of hang out and be on the
Mm-hmm.
show. And I knew they did that. I wish I had just like, again, because I have that short train ride to New York City. I wish I had done that, because like I would have loved to just like come on and, even if it's just like me watching and saying hi for a few minutes, that's cool with me.
Yeah, being a
But
fly on the wall.
yeah, but like, and that's what's great about their show, and that's what's great about, especially like this, just having a conversation. Like, and that's, what a lot of people in this industry try to achieve. And for some people, it's tough, especially like if you don't have chemistry with people that you work with. I've had that problem, like, just
Mm-hmm.
like kind of, I have to work with you, but like we don't really get along so much. But then there's people that I've worked with who like instant connection. We talk. We could easily like have hour-long conversations, and it's just, and that's what makes this job so great too, especially because, you know this job's fun. Like, doing a podcast is fun. Me doing yelling from the bench is fun. Me writing about fantasy football and sports betting, that's all fun. Doing Zoom interviews, it's all fun. And there are people that honestly look at this as a job, and it's like, why?
Yeah, yeah. This is, and I feel grateful because this is, editing audio, editing video, doing stuff like this is, it's I'm just so grateful because these are things that I've been doing since I was a kid.
Me too. Yeah.
Making videos, with me lip syncing on freaking Windows Movie Maker and my parents' webcam. You know what I'm saying? So to be able to have like a DSLR that I can plug into my computer, and a mic that I've wanted since I was a kid.
Yeah.
The first time I heard that Michael Jackson recorded Thriller with the SM7B, I was like, when I get a real job and I'm a grown up, I'm gonna buy one of those.
Yeah.
And that kind of shit for me it's so, I feel fortunate to be able to do something like this that I enjoy.
Yeah, it's like, for me, the last year, 2020 sucked
Hmm.
because I work for a baseball team, a minor league baseball team, and a minor league hockey team. And even before that, when I was in school, the last few years were me being at a baseball field, a hockey rink, a basketball court, and I haven't done that it'll be about a year since I've worked at a game, and I never realized how much I miss it. Like this summer, I missed driving to the baseball field. Is some days, like exhausted. Some days just like don't want to be there just because, I'm just like not, you have those days, but like I can't realize how much I missed it and how much you take some of that stuff for granted. I'm sure you have days when you're recording the podcast, you're like tired. I don't know if I have it, but then like, even I actually tell you, I'm not going to lie. I woke up like tired as shit for the first time in like a while. I was like, oh, I'm so tired. I'm like, oh, but I got to talk for like 2 hours. I don't know how I'm going to do it. But the moment the camera came on, the moment I saw you, we started talking, boom. Like
Same here.
Yeah.
Same here. No, and honestly, this week, I work for a community college, and this last week we worked 4 10s. So Monday through Thursday we work 10 hours, and with my drive to work and stuff, that takes up 11 hours of my day because it's about 30 minutes each way. And this week kicked my ass. It was the second week back on campus. It was the first week of classes. It fucking kicked my ass. And so I went to bed at a reasonable time last night. And when I woke up this morning, last night I was like, I'm going to bed early. I'm going to be up, freaking 6 a.m. I'm going to fucking, do A, B, and C. And then when it came to wake up, I could not get up to save my life. And then, like you said, as soon as, I fucking sent you the Zoom link and we started recording.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, man, I wish I had all day to sit here and bullshit with you, because it's just like, it's so nice. But you know what? The good thing is that there's going to be opportunities in the future for us to get together again. And I appreciate you coming on, man, because El Kukui, freaking, like I've met with Joey in Texas and Nathan Silverman, and there's been a handful of you guys, and you guys, especially now since I'm not doing the show with Jonathan, it allows me to continue, so I appreciate it.
I'm more than welcome to come in and do it again. I mean, it for me, like, the way you feel, like I wanted to get into radio when I was 10. My baseball coach was the morning man in our local, town. And I got on that mic the first time and I'm like, oh shit, this is really fucking cool. Yeah. And that's what I did. I set myself, I said, this is what I'm going to do. And I've had bumps along the road where it didn't happen for me. I worked in radio when I was much younger, like in my early 20s. And then I kind of moved away from it. I thought I was going in another direction. And then it just was like, I don't want to not pursue what I originally wanted to. That's why I went back to school. I went and got my master's degree because I wanted to get back into this. And I thought I had lost my luster for it at that, before that. And then when I got back into the program, I'm doing all this stuff again. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember
this is what I was born to do.
Yeah. I remember how much I love it. And over the last few years, it's just been starting to work for 2 sports teams. I'm working at a radio station right now as a news anchor. I'm writing for, Bro Bible, doing the fantasy football and sports betting stuff. I'm doing the yelling from the bench, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time consumption. I'm exhausted, but again, I love it so much that I'm not going to stop. Yeah. And I know how much, you love doing this, and it's, someday, whether you want it to be the next Joe Rogan podcast or you just love coming on here, just shooting the shit with people, like that's what's important. Yeah, as long as you love what you're doing,
it keeps me sane. I'll be honest. I'm like, if I was the next Cavino and Rich, I wouldn't hate it. But honestly, it's my outlet, it's my I de-stress when I do shit like this, and especially when I'm editing. You more than anybody knows how time consuming editing is, and it honestly is a de-stressor. Especially, I'll be editing and my kid's in the background,
Yeah.
breaking shit, and I'm like, I'm just mellow. You know. But yeah, man, I appreciate it. I can't wait to talk to you soon.
Yeah.
All
I'm
of your
definitely down
social
to do this
media.
again.
Tell everybody what your social media is.
Yeah, I'm that soupy. I am THATSUPI on Twitter and Instagram. It's got links to my Bro Bible page where I do right now. I'm doing all the sports betting. I just released the best bets for the divisional round. Fantasy football comes back. I do all that. Yelling from the bench YouTube page is there. So yeah, follow me on.
And I'll actually in the video, I'll put links to everything, to your social media, your yelling from the bench, and yeah, man, I can't wait to talk to you again soon.
Absolutely.
Until the next time, man, take it easy.
Thank you.